Toxic people don't disrespect you because they are powerful. They disrespect you because you allow it. That may sound harsh, but it's true. Most people think respect comes from being nice, from being patient, from being understanding. But toxic people don't respect kindness. They test it. They push your limits. They cross small lines. They watch how you react. And if you stay silent, if you laugh it off, if you tolerate it just this once, you've just trained them how to treat you. Stoicism teaches something very different. You don't control toxic people. You control your standards. And the moment you set a boundary, clearly, calmly, without anger, something shifts. You stop being easy to manipulate. You stop being emotionally available for disrespect. You stop rewarding bad behavior with your silence. Toxic people survive on reaction. They want you angry, they want you explaining, they want you defending yourself. A Stoic does none of that. A Stoic does one thing: he removes access, not with drama, not with shouting, but with calm detachment. When someone realizes they can't get a reaction from you, when they realize you won't tolerate disrespect, when they understand that crossing a line has consequences, their power disappears. This video is about that one boundary, the one shift in behavior that changes how people treat you forever. Not aggression, not revenge, not ego, just controlled, quiet strength. If you learn this, toxic people won't disappear, but they will lose their influence over you, and that changes everything. Part 1. Stop explaining yourself to people who disrespect you. The first boundary you must set is simple. Stop over-explaining yourself. Toxic people feed on explanations. They question your choices. They challenge your decisions. They act confused just to make you justify yourself. And most people fall into the trap. They explain why they said no. They explain why they're busy. They explain why they won't tolerate something. They explain and explain, hoping to be understood. But toxic people don't want understanding. They want control. The more you explain, the more you look unsure. The more you defend your decisions, the more you invite debate. The more you try to be understood, the more they test your confidence. A Stoic understands this. You are not required to justify every boundary. If you say no, that is enough. If you choose something, that is enough. If you walk away, that is enough. Confidence is quiet. When someone says, "Why are you being like this?" or "Why can't you just adjust?" A weak response is long emotional reasoning. A strong response is calm and short. This is what I've decided. I'm not comfortable with that. That doesn't work for me. No anger, no drama, no extra explanation. Toxic people hate this, because when you stop explaining, you stop seeking their approval. And approval is the leverage they use against you. When you over-explain, you are subconsciously asking, "Please understand me." When you stay calm and brief, you are saying, "I understand myself." That shift changes the dynamic immediately. Now they realize they cannot emotionally corner you. They cannot pressure you into changing your decision. They cannot exhaust you with arguments. You don't need everyone to agree with you. You need to respect yourself. The moment you stop explaining your boundaries to people who repeatedly disrespect you, something powerful happens. They either adjust or they lose access. Either way, you win, because your energy is no longer being wasted on defending your existence, and that is the first real step in removing a toxic person's power over you. Part 2. Don't reward disrespect with attention. Toxic people don't just want to hurt you. They want a reaction. Attention is their fuel. When someone makes a sarcastic comment, disrespects you publicly, mocks your effort, or tries to provoke you, what do most people do? They react, they argue, they defend, they raise their voice, they try to win the moment, and in doing that, they give the toxic person exactly what they wanted: emotional engagement. A Stoic understands something most people don't. Not every attack deserves a response. Sometimes silence is stronger than words. When someone disrespects you and you stay emotionally neutral, you remove the reward. No anger, no visible frustration, no desperate attempt to prove yourself, just calm stillness. This doesn't mean you tolerate repeated disrespect. It means you don't feed small provocations with big reactions. Toxic people test you in small ways first. A joke, a comment, a subtle insult. They are checking how easily you can be triggered. If you react strongly, they now know they can control your emotional state. If you stay composed, they feel uncomfortable, because now they don't know how to move you. Emotional control is power. When you don't reward bad behavior with attention, one of two things happens. Either they escalate, trying harder to get a reaction, or they back off because it's no longer entertaining. But here's the key. If they escalate repeatedly, that's when you enforce a stronger boundary. Distance. Calm does not mean weak. It means measured. A Stoic doesn't explode. He observes. He doesn't fight every battle. He chooses the important ones. When you stop reacting to every small act of disrespect, you protect your energy. You stop giving toxic people the spotlight in your life. You make it clear that your peace is not easily disturbed. And that changes the dynamic. Because the moment someone realizes they cannot emotionally move you, they begin to lose interest, or they begin to respect you. Either outcome works in your favor. Part 3. Set consequences. Quietly, not emotionally. A boundary without consequences is just a suggestion. This is where most people fail. They say, "Don't talk to me like that." They say, "I don't like that behavior." They say, "Please stop." But when the behavior continues, they stay, they tolerate, they forgive too quickly. They keep access open. Toxic people learn fast. If there are no consequences, your words mean nothing. Stoicism teaches something powerful. You don't threaten. You act. You don't argue repeatedly. You adjust access. If someone constantly disrespects you, reduce communication. If someone mocks your goals, stop sharing them. If someone crosses lines repeatedly, create distance. No drama. No announcement. No emotional speeches. Just action. That is strength. Most people think consequences must be loud and aggressive. They're wrong. Real consequences are quiet. You stop replying quickly. You stop being available. You stop engaging deeply. You stop prioritizing them. And suddenly they feel the shift. Toxic people don't fear anger. They fear loss of access. When they realize that crossing a line costs them your presence, your time, or your attention, the power dynamic changes immediately. But here's the important part. You must be consistent. If you set a boundary today and ignore it tomorrow, you teach them that your limits are flexible. Consistency builds respect. Emotional reactions build confusion. A Stoic does not punish emotionally. He adjusts strategically. He understands that not everyone deserves full access to his energy. And when someone repeatedly proves they cannot respect your standards, the solution is simple. Less access. You don't need to explain it 10 times. You don't need to win an argument. You don't need to prove you're right. You simply change your behavior, and behavior is what people respect. The moment someone realizes that disrespect reduces their access to you, they are forced to make a choice, adjust, or lose you. Either way, you regain control. That is how you remove their power. Part 4. Stop being emotionally available to everyone. One of the biggest reasons toxic people gain power over you is simple. You are too emotionally available. You respond instantly. You listen endlessly. You explain repeatedly. You forgive quickly. You tolerate more than you should. And in doing this, you make yourself easy to access. Access is value. The more available you are, the less rare you become. Stoicism teaches restraint. Not coldness, not arrogance. Restraint. You do not owe everyone your time. You do not owe everyone your emotional energy. You do not owe everyone unlimited patience. When someone repeatedly disrespects you, and you continue to give them emotional access, you silently approve the behavior. Toxic people are comfortable where there is no cost. The shift happens when you stop being instantly reachable. You respond slower. You share less. You engage less deeply. You reveal less emotionally. This is not manipulation. It is boundary management. When you become selective with your attention, people start valuing it more. A Stoic understands that attention is currency, and you do not spend currency on people who waste it. Many people fear this step because they worry about being seen as rude. But there is a difference between rude and reserved. Reserved is controlled. Reserved is measured. Reserved signals strength. Toxic people thrive on emotional overexposure. They gather information. They test reactions. They poke at weaknesses. When you reduce emotional exposure, they lose ammunition. They can't manipulate what they can't reach. This also protects your peace. You are no longer constantly reacting. You are no longer defending. You are no longer drained. Your emotional energy stays with you. And when someone realizes they cannot easily access your emotional state, something shifts. They either step up and respect your space, or they fade away. Either outcome benefits you, because the moment you stop being emotionally available to everyone, you start becoming emotionally powerful. And power, when calm and controlled, commands respect without ever demanding it. Part 5. Be willing to walk away. This is the boundary that changes everything. Be willing to walk away. Not emotionally, not dramatically, not angrily, calmly. The reason toxic people keep disrespecting others is simple. They don't believe you'll leave. They think you'll complain, but stay. They think you'll argue, but stay. They think you'll forgive, and stay. As long as staying is guaranteed, respect is optional. Stoicism teaches detachment. You can care about people without being dependent on them. You can value relationships without needing them at any cost. The moment someone realizes you are not afraid to remove yourself from disrespect, the dynamic shifts instantly. This doesn't mean you threaten to leave. Threats are emotional. Strength is silent. You simply stop investing where standards are not met. If someone repeatedly crosses boundaries and nothing changes, you reduce presence. If disrespect continues, you detach further. If it becomes consistent, you exit. No speeches, no revenge. No dramatic closure, just movement. Walking away is powerful because it communicates one thing clearly. My peace is more important than your behavior. And toxic people fear this. They fear losing access. They fear losing control. They fear losing someone who no longer reacts. But here's the deeper truth. Walking away is not about punishing them. It's about protecting yourself. A Stoic does not cling to what disturbs his inner order. He removes himself from chaos when necessary. This also builds self-respect. Every time you stay where you are repeatedly disrespected, you weaken your own standards. Every time you walk away calmly, you strengthen them. And people feel that. You don't need to convince anyone to respect you. You need to be willing to leave when they don't. That is the one boundary that toxic people understand immediately. Because when access is no longer guaranteed, power disappears, and respect begins. Toxic people don't change because you argue better. They change when access changes. Respect is not forced, it is taught. And it is taught through standards, not emotions. When you stop over-explaining, when you stop reacting, when you stop rewarding disrespect with attention, when you quietly enforce consequences, when you reduce emotional access, and when you are willing to walk away, something shifts. You stop looking easy to test. You stop looking easy to manipulate. You stop looking easy to control. Not because you became aggressive, but because you became calm and firm. Stoicism is not about dominating others. It is about mastering yourself. And once you master your reactions, your standards, and your willingness to detach, toxic people lose leverage. They either rise to your level, or they remove themselves from your life. Either way, you win. Because your peace is no longer negotiable. And when your peace becomes non-negotiable, disrespect becomes rare.